Hello. Okay. Oh dear, I think everything's gone a bit loose on this. There we go. Hello. So, back for more job track app building. We'll see how it goes. Let me straighten myself up in the camera a little bit. That's very loose. I think the screw connecting the camera, like there's a screw on a screw and it's like the one that's hidden away is a bit loose, so it might drift off to one side. We'll see how we get on. Right, so last time we were working through things like getting a little bit of keyboard input into the app. And that went really well, actually. Once we got our heads around a few little problems, we did in fact make it work. I think it was probably the first stream where I actually achieved all of the things I sort of set out to do, which is great. This time I shall show you what we are up to. Button, there we go. So this is the little project tracker for our job tracker. The things I want to pick up this time are basically there's a bunch of stuff that we have not added to the job tracker yet. In fact, let's spin up the job tracker so we can look at it. One of these things should do. And I might need to not have this maximized. Let's see. Give that a second to build. So yes, if you're new to this stream, we are currently working our way through building a job tracking app. Reason being, I have been looking for a job and tracking all of the different jobs across spreadsheets and Google Docs has been a little bit frustrating, and I would like to have everything in one place, and I thought maybe other people would like that too. So here is Fio's job tracker, a name that we changed last week from just being job tracker to Fio's job tracker. And then we basically have a list of companies that you can select, a list of roles you can select, and what we're currently missing is that you can edit all this stuff. That's probably needs a little bit of editing and stuff, but you can have your markdown in here. Heading to... there is definitely still some issues with responsivity, so that's probably something I might look at in a future stream, but for now I mostly just want to look at making sure that we have the storage ability for interviews that you might be going to, so you can write down what's happening, who you've spoken to, take notes. I want to give people the opportunity to write down questions to ask the company. And I want you to be able to write down the values for a company. So these days, modern companies, they like to write down their values, and they like you as a potential candidate to demonstrate that you live by those values. Sorry, I'm being a little bit cynical perhaps in that tone, but I do think, oh, do you know what I haven't done? I haven't brought the chat over. Hey, 891, sorry, let me move the chat into the window so I can see what you're saying. Pop out. I knew I was missing something. So pop that next to my preview. There we go. Values, yes. 891 knows them too. So they're not a bad thing, actually. I think that it helps you think about the kind of culture that you want to develop at a company, and I genuinely think that that's important. One company that I've been interviewing at recently, for example, puts customers before profit as one of their values, which is really surprising and nice. Bear with me one second. Yeah, sorry, someone WhatsApping me stuff they don't want in the chat. That's quite funny. Yeah, I think that you can tell a lot by a company from what it considers to be its values. I have seen companies with extremely upfront, like, you know, we're a corporation, we expect you to make money. That's the primary reason you're here. To corporations that are like, we actually do want to build something that's useful and we don't want short-term wins. And being able to look at values and see that is going to be really important. But in an interview, what's really important, that's really good for you to demonstrate that that's a really good way of finding companies that might align with you. And yeah, I do agree, like sometimes you will find yourself at a company where you're just like, have you guys read your values? I have definitely experienced that. No names. But generally speaking, if you assume a company is being honest about its values, which it's in their interest to be, then yeah, hopefully you can find one that aligns with you. And then more importantly, once you know what they are, you will probably find that your interviewer is looking for you to talk about things about their values, like how you will fit into a company by matching up to the values. And so that's another really important one. And I'm probably going to put that directly under company details. So one thing in the way that this works, what have we got? One of these has multiple roles, I think. There we go. So when you click on a company, it jumps straight to the company details tab. If you click on a role, it just automatically moves over to the role details because that's probably what you're after. But you'll see the company details are actually shared between multiple roles, and we'll probably put the values in here because they are company values. Questions, I'm not sure where I will put them. I don't know whether they belong to a role. I think they probably do, rather than to a company. Hi, Andrini. Thank you. And I think questions probably do belong to a role, but there will be questions that are sort of more company-wide. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. I did have, I thought, let me see. Let me just bring this up off screen 1 second. I'm pretty sure I've got a diagram that shows open recent. Yeah. Opening this window. So this will show roughly what I was envisioning. Oh, thanks, Opera. Let's close that. How do I close that? There we go. Okay. So with interview details, for example, there's actually going to be quite a lot going on. So I've got one tab for interview details, but you're going to have multiple interviews. So there'll be another row of tabs for each of those. It'll be important to know what the date and time is, potentially maybe the location, who you're interviewing with. It's another really good tip for interviews is just like make sure you know the person's name, try to use it. Probably just like a mini name or description, and then like a notes section. So this is roughly what I'm aiming for, and we probably won't be working on the UI today, but we will be going through the data structures and the database itself, which is another opportunity to show off some of the how I work with traits and how I am now working with macros thanks to this project. Speaking of macros, the macro chapter of Idiomatic Rust in Simple Steps is nearly there. Like, I've got the rough structure that I want, but I'm a bit unhappy with how I talk about certain things. Sorry, 891 says pre-interview digest would be fun. This company at this time, and it's Tim. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that would be quite useful, and especially if you have one coming up, that if you click on the role, maybe it jumps directly to the specific interview that you've got. What is Tim? T-I-M? I've missed something here, definitely. Here in Tim, we all know him. So let's see how we get on. Anyway, so we're done with the UI for now. I doubt we're going to have time to come back to it on stream, but we will we'll keep in mind that there will be stuff there. So let's talk about storage in this application. So again, for people who are joining this one for the first time, I'm building this application in a system called Dioxys. It uses HTML-esque, or it's like a web framework, but you can build desktop apps in it. The syntax for Dioxys for the UI stuff looks like this. It's its own sort of DSL. Another thing we've got to look forward to in the next chapter of Idiomatic Rust in Simple Steps. I am being yelled at by a cat, I think. He'll be okay. Sorry, I can hear him outside. I don't know if you guys can hear him over the mic. We're not dealing with this today. This is just, so the way this application is separated out is we've got like different crates. It's a workspace with different crates. We've got one for desktop, mobile, which we're not using, server we're not using, storage we are, UI and web. So storage, the way that we store things is we just store them in JSON files directly to disk. In fact, if I do go back to desktop, because that sort of explains it, you can see that we're able to get sort of a directory where encouraged to store things as per how the operating system would like to do it, using this cool little crate called directories. And then from there, we could sort of get some subdirectories for logs and storage. When I build the storage, I'm just passing in the path for the storage directory into this JSON store. If I jump in, we'll be able to see that we have the JSON store, this JSON thread safe general store, a bit of a mouthful, is actually a single store that can store and retrieve multiple items, all using effectively the same methods. I'm actually very proud of this. So if you just call .store and give it a company, it will store the company. If you give it a flag, it will store the flag. And all of this uses some like clever generic stuff, which I'm a little bit ashamed of how long it took me to work out. Oops, if we go, sorry, let's jump over. So this is all in storage. I've got our stores over here. This describes the sort of the generic structures, whereas the JSON thread safe one actually is just a thread safe store that takes takes JSON stores inside of it. And you can see that the JSON stores themselves are also generic. The reason for that, I'm having to sort of refamiliarize myself as we go, so don't worry, I am actually working through this myself as well, sorry. Not in here. That's a composite store, so we've got storage, object storage I think is where we've put it. So we have like a company store, base store, let me jump to that, here. Okay, so base store is actually just a trait that allows something to be stored. And then in our company store itself is another trait, but it must implement the following things. So you can recall by ID, or you can recall by name. Again, these are just traits, and it tells us what is being recalled, what is being stored. All of these are effectively just like I've divided them up as properties. So then each thing has to implement this, which is where we go over to medium, and we'll see our JSON store. Actually, maybe the stub store is a better one to talk about. So the stub store just stores things in memory in a vector of whatever the type is. And then we're basically implementing how these things work here. So a base store of type O, where O has ID and is clone, allows us to store the item. So anything that has ID and is clone can be put into a base store of that type. So all of this allows us to build up this like amazing sort of, I don't want to call it a trait Jenga tower, but we just have traits on traits on traits, and then like these really loose definitions on top that make it really easy for us to store things. So for example, if I want to make a base store with a company, or if I want to make a stub store that stores a company, the only thing that this company store actually asks for is base store recall by ID and recall by name. If I go back in here, base store, so company itself has to implement has ID and clone. It has to also implement has deleted and has name. So as long as it implements those 4 traits, then it automatically, any store that would store it can implement these. So if we go over to the storable, you'll see we've got the has ID, has name, has deleted, and sorry, I'm going to take a quick drink. Has ID, has name. I'm missing one, am I? What were we missing? Clone. We don't need to do that. So in the objects, we've got the company, and then the company implements, has ID, has name, has deleted, and clone. So that means that we basically get the actual storage for free. Why is that all important? Well, we're going to add some new stuff, right? So let's add a new thing. We'll call it question. I think that's a good one to start off with. Let pub use question. I'm just like mostly using the modules to organize the code structure itself, not the actual sort of types. That I'm using a fairly flat structure for this kind of thing. And bear with me one moment, please. And okay, so let's bring this in. Yeah, so the structure is fairly flat, as I was saying. So companies, flags, questions all get brought into the objects module, just sort of re-imported. So if I'm going to doubt myself a little bit. Let's do a bit of a split so I can see what I did with company, and we can sort of copy along with question. Sorry, that's company. There we go. And then question. Okay, so obviously we need a structure that represents a question. I don't think we're going to need very much on this. We will want to be able to get questions for roles, right? So we probably are going to need a new trait that we don't currently have. So we've got has company, but we don't have has role. So questions will belong to roles, roles belong to companies. Roles already have has company, questions will need has role. So we'll come to that in a second, but we will always use an ID. This is sort of part of an important part of obviously looking up, but we also use the IDs for storage. We will have, should I just reuse name? I think so. So the name can be the question as well. You probably don't want to be writing in too much into this. I think it'll be all right. We're probably not actually going to search by name, so I don't think we're going to necessarily need it. Hey, Manu. So let's keep going. We want an answer. Now, I have been using strings for this. Slight digression here. I have been using strings for this, and the slight downside to strings is that cloning them is kind of expensive in Rust terms. If you clone a string, you have to ask for heap memory that you can then copy the string into. Even for small strings, the expensive part's not necessarily the actual copying the data. It's more that you have to wait for the operating system to give you some heap memory to write it into. So one thing I've been considering, and the reason I've been considering this is specifically because Dioxys really likes to clone things when you move them around, is whether I should move from strings to cows. So cows, funny name, it stands for copy on write. It allows us to store things that only change, that only sort of like get duplicated if you change them. So if you're not changing them, it points to a reference to some data that already exists. If you do change them, it basically creates a new reference, puts it into a new place in memory, and then does the update. And that could be quite helpful. I mean, at the moment, it's probably too much of an over-optimization, but if in the future you suddenly realize all these strings have turned into cows, then that is why. So I think we probably want a date deleted. I'm not really doing anything with deleted at the moment, but let's just go with it. Timestamp. Hey, Bonjian, how's it going? Is that a dog? Oh, it's a cow. Sorry, of course it's a cow. Great. Okay, we use our own timestamp type. I don't know if I've probably mentioned this on stream before, but timestamps are a bit wonky across different platforms, and we are sort of designing this potentially to be run across multiple platforms. And for example, if you were running this in a WebAssembly runtime, you don't directly have access to a timestamp. You can't ask a WebAssembly runtime for, or what's it called, a WebAssembly virtual machine? I think it might be a virtual machine. WebAssembly gets run inside of like a tiny little runner. Like a lot of other languages, it has like a special container that it runs in, but there is no access to time unless you bring it in via sort of connections to JavaScript or other languages. So I've basically just got a really silly little, it's just an i64 in here. That's it. And then we're going to use like timestamp, Unix timestamp style things for that. Anyway, we would like, sorry, impl, reading off the left-hand side, you can tell. Let's do a few functions. So pub fn new. So we are using some generics here. The reason that I've got generics here is because sometimes you might be using a string, sometimes you might be using a string slice, sometimes you might be using something else that can be turned into a string, and all of those would be perfectly valid for you to pass into the new function. So that's why we've got an into string generic on this. The only thing is we have what the obvious thing that I missed that I was talking about earlier, role ID. UID. So if we look at like role, where we'll have company ID, and we look at the sort of structure here, we're taking the sort of company ID first and then the name. So I think we'll do the same here, where we'll take the role ID first. Role ID, UUID. Name is going to be of S, and then this will return itself. And now I think I should be able to, maybe this way around. There we go. We want to be a bit more specific about that. So we're specifically use UUID v4. There are other sort of generated values for UUIDs you could use. For example, I worked at a place that was absolutely obsessed with using v7, I think, which is a combination of sort of, maybe I'm going too deep into UUIDs. The UUIDs are universally not guaranteed, but they attempt to be as unique as possible, so that in theory, two systems, two entities anywhere in the world shouldn't have the same UID. Obviously, collisions are possible, but we try to avoid them in a number of ways. UID v4 is just a purely random number, but other versions use sort of pieces of information to sort of narrow down the possible generated value out of it. Why multiple UUIDs? Do you mean for the ID and the role ID? So, sorry, 891 asks why multiple UIDs. I don't think it's a dumb question, but I may be answering the wrong one. So there's an ID for the question itself. There's an ID for the question itself, but there's also an ID for what role the question belongs to. So it's going to be a sort of a parent-child kind of relationship. So a role might have multiple questions associated with it. We'll probably, the way the UI will probably, as in v4, yeah. So, beg your pardon. So the reason that there are so many is because they do different things. It is, yes, that's right. It is just the generation method. I can't tell you what they all do off the top of my head. I think some of them use like MAC address, for example, as a signal to sort of minimize the potential outputs. So in theory, a UUID that uses something like a MAC address as an input will always generate unique IDs versus something else that has a different MAC address, but obviously reduces the or increases the chances of a collision on a single device. Although those chances are still incredibly low. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question. We are good here. I don't think we need these. So create role, for example, this is just a utility function. If you already have a company to hand, this will create a role. This will create the flags. We don't need any of this because this doesn't have any children yet. But when we do get around to it, we'll probably add a create question to a role on the role type. And so next we just need to implement a bunch of stuff for it. So let's do... we can do the derives first, nice and easy. We always want debug, is how we can test things. We want clone. We don't want partial EQ. So you can derive partial EQ, but it will compare everything in here. And I don't want that to, like, these are not going to be EQ types. So partial EQ is partial equivalence, not partial equality, which is what I always want to say. It's equivalence, not equality. So we're partial equivalence. They don't need to be exactly the same to be partially equivalent. But if they also implement EQ, which again is short for equivalent, or exactly equivalent, if that's the case, then it still actually relies on the partial EQ implementation, but you're implementing that trait to basically say, like, this is going to be exactly equivalent. I can't remember what example I used in the Iris series for like when you might use one, not another. Like two books are the same if they've got the same ISBN, but other details could be different. Like they might be paperback or hardback. Can't can't remember what I used for the other. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We need to bring in serialize and deserialize because we serialize the data when we store it as JSON. We're using Surday to do that, and Surday JSON as the companion, whatever you call it. Partially queue. So import partially in queue for company, for question. I mean, actually, this is the exact same code. We are just going to compare the ID itself. Do I want to compare the role ID? Yeah, I might do actually. Yeah. Do I do it on flags? What am I on here? Let's switch this to role. Let's see what I do on role. Yeah. Okay, we do. Oh, I also checked the name. I don't think I want to do that in this case, but I will do role ID. And again, this is just like mitigating the chance that we've had two collisions in the UIDs, which is insanely unlikely, but we should just do it anyway. And then has ID, we don't have as a company. I'm just going to copy these for now. Delete the one that we're not using because it doesn't have a company. I mean, it technically has a company, but only via a role, so we don't need that. We would like to change these to question. That's right, question. And those are now already correct. So that gets us a long way there. Now, this bit, don't know why it's not a break there. This creates, in testing, in order to sort of like make the tests a bit easier to use, I've made a load of macros. Those macros require you to be able to create a question without, sorry, they require you to create the storable object without sort of providing any additional details. You just have to call like new test on the object. Probably not ideal. I would quite like to throw in a sort of a randomizer in here, since all objects created this way will probably be about the same, except for the UID, of course. We do not need, wait. So role has an additional one, which is the date that you apply for the role, so we don't need that. Anyway, this will allow us to use our tests. So now we should be able to add some tests. And again, it's going to be very similar to this, except not role. Question. Does not have company. We will come back to this. I'm going to comment this out for a second because we haven't got the type yet for that. But if I run these tests, fingers crossed, that just works. We got a warning. Oh yeah, unused import, that's fine. We haven't picked it up anywhere, so that's okay. And the tests themselves pass, so we know that has deleted, has ID, and has name all work. They're really, really, really basic bits of functionality, which is why I decided to use macros, so that I can repeatedly use them on every type. And we're about to create one, so I can show you how that works. So we have, I'm going to stick it in up here, pub mod use, sorry, pub mod. Why have I got pub mod and pub mod use? Interesting. Let's see how it goes. Has role and pub mod use. Well, I'm very confused as to why I did that. Has role. So create, and I might even be able to do something crazy. No, I can't create it from here. Okay, fine. That's fine. Oh. Fine. So we would like a public trait called that's role. And then this is going to return the value of the role. So it will just be, and again, I might as well just load up the other one over here so we can see it as company. You see, it's really, really trivial sort of implementation for it. So has role. That is not what it says. Get role ID. So if it has a role, you should be able to get the role ID. You can tell it's been a little while since I've been in the storage bit. And I'm not sure necessarily how much this matters, but this allows us to basically say that if you have something that is a reference to type T, where the type T already implements has role, then it's gone a bit wrong. Basically, it's just going to do basically the same thing. So we've got a trait called has role. When we implement this for question, you will get it for free on references to questions as well. I can't remember why that felt necessary, but it did. So we're going to dereference self to get the underlying version of self, and that prevents us from accidentally calling on the reference again, and call get role ID on that, and that should get us there. And now we have this macro. So the macro here tests the functionality of anything that implements the has role. And I will talk through how this works. Oh, I actually think I might have learned. I think I might have learned how to do this properly. I think there's a use macro attribute. We'll look at that in a second. It'll be fine. So the macro, this is how we write macros in Rust. And again, currently working on a idiomatic Rust in simple steps video for macros. This is actually kind of trivial by comparison to some of the stuff that we're going to go into on that. I showed 891 earlier. I have a thing that turns a language that is definitely not called brain fudge into Rust. So which we can do with a macro, which is like how powerful this stuff gets. It's got a nice workup to it, so hopefully it's fine. But anyway, so what this is going to do is we're going to create a macro called test has role, which we can use elsewhere. The macro only has one sort of matching arm. So it takes an ident, which is something that is a thing, like it's the name of a thing in sort of macro speak. This is called the ident part is a fragment specifier. The storable part is a meta variable. That's the names of what these things are. So we'll put something in here. What we'll put in here is anything that has role, which is going to be question. So when we write the test for question, we just put question in here, as we did with role. If I jump back over to role, actually. So you can see in here, I actually did have the ones for question already. It's basically going to be another one of these. In fact, it's exactly going to be there's going to be, it'll be in, oops. Oh gosh, I made the screen too small. Now I can't see what I'm doing. Has role, test helper. Oops, that's why it's gone wrong. I'm okay with it being like this for now. I should probably do it the proper way later. So we now have some errors, which are actually to do with the fact that I haven't finished testing this yet. So all I need to do is replace this with role. So what is happening here? The way that macros work is they do code generation for you. So inside of this block is effectively what is going to be generated. The paste thing here, this is another macro that allows me to create a actually sort of a single token from multiple tokens along the way. Don't worry too much about it. Basically, this is creating a Tokyo async unit test. And this bit creates the name, which is just going to be test underscore has underscore role with whatever the storable is turned into snake case. So this should be lowercase question when we put in uppercase question as the thing up here. The inside of the test, we create a new storable using the ident here, which is question. We use the new test method, which is the one we just created a moment ago, that just produces something that we can use to test. Those are, the actual new test function I'll show in here is actually async. And the reason for that is that some of the testable stuff that we create could be asynchronous. So I've just generalized it to always be an async function. And then I just assert like the method, you call the method and you get back something that is a v4 UUID. Not a great test, but it should work. Now this is still red, so let's have a look. No method name get role ID. Yep, that's fine. So, oh yeah, another interesting thing about macros, which I'm not sure how to approach in the book and video. It's not requiring you pass in something with the get role ID it's not expecting something specifically that has role, has role. All it's doing is it's gonna call the method that's there. So technically you could pass in something that is not has role and call the get role ID on it, and it will still actually work, because this is just going to generate code. It doesn't really care what the code is, other than it has to be valid. Does not matter. Anyway, so we want to go back up to here. We would like to impl as role for question. Didn't import. Create that, and then it's just going to be self dot role ID. There we go. UUID is copy, so we don't have to clone it or anything here. And that error has now gone away. So if I run the test again, they pass. There we go. There's our 4 tests. Cool. 891 says Herm. If you would like to ask questions, please do. There are no silly questions. I do worry that I rush through things without necessarily explaining them properly, and obviously everyone is going to be at different skill levels. So please do ask any questions as I go. Macros are a weird one. Can you create accessors for Rust macros? I'm not sure what an accessor is. I assume this is a concept from another language that I'm less familiar with. I bet it's going to be Ruby, knowing 891. I'll wait for him to come back on that one. So I think we're done with question, right? We're going to have multiple questions, but those questions are going to be attached to a role. And the questions will have a question and an answer. All we're saying about the question and the answer is that they are strings. It might be Ruby. Okay, what is an accessor? Programming accessor. Oh, a getter, yeah. Yeah, so you could use a macro to do this, right? So you could, for example, simply do, what could we do? Let's try it out. I'm probably not going to keep it, but we'll try it out. So we could have a macro rules, impl has role. We will want we're going to do storable in here as well with an ident. Is an ident going to be the right way to do this? So let's have a look. Rust macro. So while doing my research, I actually found that the Rust by example stuff wasn't very good, but macros by example in the Rust reference was extremely helpful. So I think in here we probably do want or maybe want an item actually. The sad thing is you can't go too in depth on these. So really all we actually want is a struct. That's the only type we want to do this for. But I don't think there's a way of explicitly saying struct in macros speak. So it probably ought to be an item. Let's just see on identifier. I mean, identifier would be... I'm going to go with ident. The other issue here, of course, is that like a lot of these overlap. Like almost every single one of these is also a token tree. It's like the most basic version of like all things. Oh, a type. So we could try this. Type grammar rule. Let's try it. I think that might actually be the right one. I mean, if it doesn't work, we can just change it. Not a big issue. So next we would like to basically just copy this, right? So it's going to be, copy that, pop this in here, fix the indentation because IntelliJ is not great with it. This is sad because it did say just lowercase type. Oh, TY, silly. Yeah, that makes sense. Lots of these are abbreviated in quite funny ways. Oops. So all we need to do is put this here. And then I think... Right, let's also try seeing if this works. We're just going to fiddle around. I mean, that's kind of what these are for, macro export. That might work. So this is probably what I should be using in here instead of this weird use thing. So then I should just be able to delete this. Let's just comment it out just in case. And then instead of doing that, so now this should be red again, which it is. If I now do impl has role for question, that should generate the code for us. It is nicer, isn't it? Is it nicer? Am I going too in depth on this? I think I might be pushing it. I mean, a lot of these are going to be very similar. You can always just not do it that way. Okay, I think 891 wins on this one. Let's just keep that for now, and I'll change the other ones later. Cool. Nah, you don't agree. You don't agree with your own suggestion. I mean, it wasn't quite your suggestion. Another way that you potentially could do this, by the way, is with procedural macros, which allow you to do... 891 says, but I wouldn't trust me, I'm a heathen. He's also not an engineer. Well, not by profession. And I am teasing, you know, I think that you are a good engineer, just not, you're not a professional engineer by definition. But you are an engineer as a human being. Anyway, sorry. Where was I going with this? I've distracted myself a little bit. Hi, Adin. Nice to meet you. Ish. Okay, we'll keep it. We'll keep the macro. I think it's fine, like, because we're going to end up basically doing the same thing for each of these, and it's going to reduce a lot of the code. We won't do partial EQ because those are sort of specific, but these ones that are literally just the getter methods are probably fine. What if we just rename this impl has role? I think it's fine, right? Let's, while we're at it, see if this actually also works as well. Oops. With the macro export. Macros are just, and always have been, just a tiny bit weird. So that's not it. It's Rust macro. At times you have been an engineer, yes. Generally briefly, which probably is very telling. I don't think that's very fair on yourself. We have developed things together. Like, I definitely consider you to be a software engineer, so don't beat yourself up. Not macro rules. Module. There's something that's sort of like. Macros okay, bit after declaration error. So mod inner macro use has two purposes. First, it can make the module's macro scope not end when the module is closed by applying it to a module. So we think. Yeah, I think this is why my sort of weird export thing was kind of working. Okay, we'll just go back to how it was. not prepared to faff around too much with this. We've got more things to create. Okay, we have created a question. So let's just run through what we've done. We have added the question module, which is not currently used, but that's fine. I'd have assumed there would be defined setters getters in Rust. I don't think so. We tend to be a bit overly concise, maybe. Azure accessor. So I mean, yeah, you can just make these things public, right? So I can just do something question .id because I made it public. However, what's a bit more challenging is that because of the traits, I need to know that I can get the ID on a question, for example, inside of, let's go back. Sorry, this is a really good sort of like delve into why this is all a bit weird, I think, but it hopefully will make sense in a moment. So we've got our JSON store, for example. Actually, no, let's go back to the stub store because it's the easiest one. So the JSON store, the reason I keep going back to the stub store is the JSON store actually uses the stub store as a backend. All it really does is it loads all of the JSON files into memory, then uses the stub store to look through them. Whereas the when you save it, it writes directly. It not only updates the stub store, but it also writes the file to the file system. So the next time you load the app, you can load it back up again. So the stub store is doing all of the things we need it to do. So if we've got like recall by ID here, it has to have a has ID, and the reason it has to have a has ID is because of I basically do .get ID on the item, on both the thing that the ID that you're looking for. So I also has to have ID. So we've got ID is of type I, which has ID. So you might be passing in an ID which implements has ID, or you might, for example, be passing in something else. Like you might be looking for you might have a company and be passing in the entire company into this. This one's probably less useful than say like recall by company. So C has ID here. You could either pass in the UUID or the company into this, or this is why I did it, or the reference to the company, because the reference to the company also implements has ID. So that allows us to be, I don't know, I've done this one backwards, but that checks whether that's got has ID. I can't just do .id on it because we're using the traits. So the traits don't give us access to the specific properties of a structure, but they do give us access to methods. There are some other, I'm not going to go too far into this, but basically there are other weird things about this. So you could actually have overlapping traits, but this will definitely call the trait that is has ID, or call the get ID that is on the has ID implementation for whatever the heck you just passed in here, which is kind of cool. Right. Going back to making sure I actually commit my work. Added the question type. We have added the has role type. I updated role. Oh, I just put a space in there. I think that's probably fine. We'll get away with that. I think that's probably right. So feat add question storable, commit and push. Now, what's also quite cool here is if we go to storage, medium, stub store. I don't think we necessarily need to go into stub store. Sorry, push. I think it might be in the composite stores. We have the JSON thing here. So what I want to do is add a question store on here. And I think because of all of these crazy traits, we don't need to do very much work here. Arc mutex is how we, there's an entire, my next video is out on the 1st on YouTube, or if you're a Patreon, it's already out for you. Although I had a hilarious bug on Patreon for getting that out. So there's just a link, there's no thumbnail or like in-site preview of it, unfortunately. Arcs are atomic reference counts, allow you to store something on the heap and have a pointer to it. And then mutexes allow interior mutability, but are thread safe. So you basically have to lock them, preventing anyone else from having access to them. And then when you drop the mutex guard that you get from locking it, then it unlocks it. So by doing an arc mutex, we can pass things around on threads with interior mutability safely, which is quite nice. So role store is here. So I probably just need to add this trait here. Mod question store. Pub use question store. And I think if I go back in here, how do I do that? Nope. Can never remember the command. Was that command B? I think so. So this tells us the functionality we expect to be applied to any trait that implements role store. So we need to do the same thing for company store. It's almost the same, except instead of recall by company, we've got recall by role. Which no, we don't need that. We do need that. Okay, so we'll be a little bit more work here. That's fine. Let's make this. We'll drop this in. Oops. Gosh, I should have just copied the whole thing. Let's not copy that bit though. Just that. Move it over. Question store. Question. Except the recall by question, recall by company question is not going to work. So we'll leave that out. We'll import this. Whoops. And then I'm not sure why. Import, optimize imports, Control Alt Option, Control Alt Option. Just try that out. Control Alt O, Control Alt Option, Control Alt O. So we will need to also add in a recall by role up here for the store itself to work. Hello, Gregor. This is nice. I like everyone coming in and saying hi. Recall by, what did I just say? Role. Pub use. Oh, I bet it's because of the macros. I think that's why it's got a global export. The thing we really care about is the recall by role, which is why I'm sort of flattening it out here. But the inside of the recall by role, we also have, inside of the recall by anything, we also have another macro which writes the test for how to test something that can recall by role ID. So that's going to be interesting when we get to that, but let's work through it. I am going to probably copy a lot of this, I think, again. We'll just work our way through it. So recall by role has role. It's going to be the thing that you actually care about. Now, this is one that I can't do the functionality of because it is a bit more complicated. So when we go into the stub store, for example, we're going to have to add a recall by role method in here. And as you can see, these are not trivial because a different medium might have different functionality. In fact, like recall is all fine, but say base store here is different to base store in here. Where are we? Base store. So yeah, so we've got like, this does the writing of the file, which is actually just calling another method up here somewhere. And then it calls its internal one. So it's seemingly more simple, but it does a lot more stuff because it not only does the stub store thing, it also does the write file thing. Anyway, recall by role. And change this one as well. I'm just going to start writing role incorrectly, so just watch. This is also going to be a role. recall by role. This is now going to be change that to I. We would like to use the has ID that we've been using earlier. And we'll just throw role in here. So it might be a role's ID, or it might be a reference to a role, or it might be a role. Any of those things are now welcome in here. So the test, let's see. The way this test works is we have we have a storage thing. So this is going to be the storage type, which might be, for example, the stub store. And then we have the storable, which in this case might be question. And this gets important because if I go down to the test down here, you'll see that there are repeated ones. So recall by ID stub store company, recall by ID stub like flag, and we'll be able to do, like, we know that recall by ID should work for question. Same for name, but not company, because questions don't have companies. What did I say? Why didn't that come in from... Oh, because it's not in the prelude. Let's get that sorted. Okay, so in this library, we have a prelude, which just exports all of the common types that you might want to use. So in our storables, for example, we have company flag, flag color. This is actually in order, so I'm just going to write question at the end. So now if I go back to here, we won't need this because it's now part of the prelude, which we don't already bring in. Bet it's here. Nope. Sorry, that's storage. Bet it's here. No, we do actually export everything. So we pop use question star. So that is there. Is it additionally used? No. Huh. Weird. Why? Oh, is it here? Okay, fine. It's because we've got, sorry, this confused me because we've got a import block here that also imports whatever was imported up here. So that's why that didn't exactly work. Question's not used in here, but it will be, so let's not worry too much about that. And let's go back to writing our recall by role test so we can get to that. So storage is going to be something like stub store. Storable is going to be something like question. We want to store that. We want to recall the stored object. You know what? I should have copied the has company. Nope, recall by company. Storage property. Recall by company, because this is actually going to be much more similar to what we want to do, since I suspect this probably creates a company as well. Or it creates the thing that we want to look up, right? God, this is very weird. So I must set the ID somewhere. Recalled storable by company. How did I do this? So we've got the storable new test. Recalled storable is 1. Oh, because I just called get company on the ID on the storable. I didn't actually create another company. I think that's probably okay. So let's just change these around. Role, recall by role, and roll, and roll. So this, this tests whether after it's been deleted, whether it doesn't show up again, because we don't want it to show up after it's been deleted. I am having doubts about leaving deleted ones stored, since I'm using other people's disk space for it, but we'll see. Okay. Oh my god, I've just changed the wrong thing. How did I just copy and paste that from... Oh my word. Where am I? Test has company. I'm in the wrong file. Recall by role. This is where we want this to be. Goodness grief. So now I can go through, find everywhere that says company. Replace, replace. Replace, 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 replace. Fine. Should be fine. See what happens. So back to our medium stub. So we now should also be able to do test recall by role stub store. Question. Now this will not compile because we have never implemented this. So it's going to tell us there is no recall by test recall substore. Okay, I've named that wrong. In here, recall by role. That's fine. So this shouldn't work, right? That's a bit odd. Because this should be testing the method recall by role. Why are you saying that that's okay? Let's run the tests. It should fail. It shouldn't even compile. Take that out for a second. And that. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's just like there are more obvious things to solve before I get to this. There we go. No method recall by role found for stub store, and no method get role ID found for question. Interesting, because I thought we just did that. Get role ID. Let's work our way through. Maybe this isn't going to work. I blame 891. We'll come back to that one. We'll work through these one at a time. So we knew that we haven't implemented recall by role. So let's do that. Impl t recall by role. Do that. T for stub store T. So T generic represents storable. So where T has role and has deleted and clone. So implement the missing thing here, and we are going to assume. Okay, sorry. I'm hatting because the... Oh, yeah. This is fine. So this can't really fail. If there's no items in there, it returns an empty vector. So that's why this is a little bit odd. Let's just do basically the same. This is pretty much identical, just with one method called change. Well, two technically. Get role. Get ID. Okay. So now, I think I forgot to cancel the thing running in the background. At least it compiles. Run. Ta-da! So we can now recall by role. Yeah, so the macro did work. I think it was just like, because this didn't work, it also caused another macro to not work or something. I'm not entirely sure, but it's fine now, and I'm happy with that. So the next thing to do is to get it into here. So we're going to add this in. We're going to add this in. We are going to add this. So these types do get a little bit complicated. I did wonder, like, should I just make the thread safe store only take one type of store, but then I still have to say like it takes company, flag, role, that sort of thing. So not sure. Here, question store queue. So this is just a constructor that puts the question, like puts each store inside of an arc. The reason we do each one inside of an arc is because it means that we can access multiple stores at once if we need to. Question. Brilliant, Daniel. Well done. Store. And we will need to... Will we need this? Yes, we do need this. Oh my god. Yeah, the generics here are getting a little bit out of hand, and there probably is a way to fix this, but it'll be fine. We'll work through it. So this is how we access the store. The reason for this is because we want to return a mutex guard. Now what mutex guard am I using? Tokyo's one. That seems to be fine anyway. Hey, Vincent. Cute. Self.questionStore.lock. So that gets us the mutex guard, which we then return from this function, which is fine. It still links back to the original mutex. So until this mutex guard is dropped, that mutex will remain locked, which is kind of handy because we can then basically use it in places like this. So this is where things get a little bit crazy. Oh. Okay. So we need to add in our extra type because now our function, our thing here is getting wild. We need to add in... Oh, this one as well. Cute. And then should be okay to do this. Q question store. So that just gives us our type guards. So you'll see basically here we have our sealed is a bit wild. So we basically have a private type called sealed that prevents people from implementing stuff on thread safe, or it prevents people from implementing... No, I can't even remember how this works now. There's some crazy thing where we basically need to stop people implementing a specific trait on this. Otherwise, you get like a weird loopy thing where it can't guarantee that certain things won't accidentally implement a specific trait multiple times on top of something, which you can't do in Rust. It's fine. It's all fine. We want to do has store for question. Imports prelude. Are we doing it from the prelude or are we doing it from store? That's the one slight downside. Should be here. Be consistent. This will need to be fixed in a second, but that's okay. So oops. That gives us our question store. Sorry, that's the... Okay, so the storable type here needs to be... Why did I... Hang on a minute. Oh, yeah, that's fine. So the storable storage type is Q. So now the return type of self-storage matches this. I am not going to go over all of this again. I think we talked through it a few videos ago, a few streams ago. It's a mild headache. I think it took me ages to work out the correct implementation of this. Go check the something like 3,000 line PR for this as to an explanation as to how it works. I'm not going to worry about it too much. So let's just finish this off. Stub store question. Nope. Stub store defaults. That does not make the problem go away. Trait bound stub store question store is not satisfied. I apparently have not defined a stub store for question store. That can't be right, can it? Ah, yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so these basically just make it so that for any type that is stub store where the generic type is question, we implement question store. That's it. That means that when I have my sort of like stub store default, stub store default, stub store default, the types that of the stub store that are returned here will be specific to the thing that is being stored, whether that be company flag, role, or question. And based on which of those stub stores you get, different different traits are implemented for each of them. So for example, on stub store question, has role will be implemented and has recall by role will be, has role will be implemented on question, but has recall by role will be implemented on the stub store. So that should make that problem go away. Now what we need is to make sure we have has this for this. These are just the same ones that we just did for the stub store as well, just duplicating the tests. Recall by name, we know that question has a name, so we can write that in. Recall by, recall by, that wasn't the bits change, it was question over here. Question does not have a company, but does have a role, so test recall by role. Thread safe, general store. Thread safe. Seems to not want to autocomplete that. Store question. Okay. Base store, do we care about this? Yep, we just need to duplicate this. Not sure why. The following tests are more to show the API than the thing in general. Okay, that's fine. What I might do is put this in then. Okay, fine. So let's actually get this. Whoops. Question equal. Oh, I can't reach the buttons. Sort that out in a second. Question new role.id question. We don't need the two strings in here, technically. Let's just delete those. I'm pretty sure we made these take the into string types here, so that should be fine. Then we want to store the question. And this is what I was talking about earlier. See how we have one method called store, and you can put multiple types inside of it, and it will use the correct trait implementation based on the type that is being passed in. So recalled role, recalled. And the downside to that is that because the recall by ID is also generic, we have to type into what is actually being recalled. And again, this is where I was saying earlier that we can pass in the entire question to get its ID because it has ID, or I could just do like .get ID on here would also work. Attempted to access as a, oops, sorry. So that would also work, but we don't need to do that. We can pass in a reference to the thing that we're querying. Assert EQ, recalled. Oh, I've spotted my mistake. It's fine. And that should fix that problem. Then down here, let's do this one as well. Test recall by name. I've obviously not gone into much detail on some of these, so I'm not going to worry too much. Recall by company doesn't matter for question. Let's leave that. We're not going to go into too much detail there. What I probably ought to do is maybe write doc tests for these, since they are supposed to be demonstrating how they're consumed rather than being specifically test themselves. So no method, get role by ID, found for struct question in current scope. Because I need to import the traits, I think, which is probably missing on the prelude, which I am importing other things. So it's just going to be has role in here, I think. Still unhappy. Recall by role is found for struct. 1 second. Really must make sure to drink at the moment. I'm being a little bit dehydrated lately. So we have not implemented. How have we not implemented recall by role? That doesn't make sense, right? This should be automatically implemented. So how do we automatically implement the other stuff? See if I can spot some magic that's going on. Just going to double check that's not in mod. I'm pretty sure that I fixed the fact that there was a lot of stuff in mod files. Recall by role. I feel like for this, it should just implement. Oh, has future store? No. Is it the properties? I bet it is. Has future store. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so has future store is like a bunch of traits that will automatically implement. T recall by company. If I just used, yeah, basically use the same structure on all of these. Again, I'm not going to delve too much into the different types here. So in this case, though, like T is going to be the type being returned, the storable, and O is going to be the thing that is doing the storage, which we refer to elsewhere. We've kind of got object and property. Don't know why I've gone with O here. Oh, beg your pardon, other way around. O is the thing that is being recalled, and T is the thing that is doing the recalling. That makes more sense. Has future... sorry, where? Gosh, I'm very hot. Has future store for O. So this is the thing that does the basically the automatic implementation of the recall by role for the thread safe general store, which implements the has future store for question. I think, yeah, because this will come from here. So we just did this. So we've got has future store for question. So as long as this works, then we can, this will get an this bit of code will automatically implement for anything that has this bit of code. Storage, recall by role. Oh. So this checks that the underlying storage also implements it. And then the storable object itself has role and has deleted and is clone. Okay. I don't know where I'm guessing this from. Watch me get this wrong as well. Yep. And auto implement that, and then it's literally just going to be self.getStore .await .recall by role .await. Okay, so I know that felt like a lot of work, but it's taken a huge amount of guesswork out. You can see that I'm basically just able to copy and paste a lot of stuff with these sort of like vague types, these vague objects. Unfortunately, these I also can't get rid of with macros, but they're simple enough that it's not really a big issue. Why is this one red still? Or is it? It is. Recall by role. Still not found for this. But it should. Okay, I'm just going to run the test anyway. I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. Yep. There, this is why. So this, nope, this isn't why. JSON store question. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is mildly frustrating. Sorry. So the JSON store allows you to create a scoped store for a given type of object. So I also need to implement this for question. And this basically just puts all question JSON documents into a question path. That's it. That's all it does. Watch it be the other way around now this time. Watch it have actually imported the prelude. No, but we can fix this. Look. That. There we go. So back to here. That still doesn't work. Question store. So we're using a Tokyo join because each of these is a asynchronous thing, but I don't mind them all happening at the same time. Question store question mark. So that will actually contain a result. Just one question. The trait bound question is not satisfied. That's interesting. So we are okay. This is the same error, is it? That's interesting. So the JSON thread safe general store itself is not a type. It is, but it's basically a concrete version of this. So the thing that we're missing here is we don't have question store implemented for thread safe general store, but I thought that's what this is. So this should allow us to get a question store from the general store. So I think we're looking at the same error in both of these. I just don't understand it. JSON store question. Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. So if I come back here, I think we've probably got some here. Okay, so it was the same issue that I just dealt with on the stubs. So now question store is implemented for JSON store. We may need to do the impl. I'm just going to copy this one again and just change this over to role, because actually we can't implement it without that. Recall by role as role. Oops. Import. Role. Just going to rename this to R. This to role. I think my brain is broken because I'm still struggling not to spell it ROLL. And import this. Storage probably. I think internally we should probably be getting it from storage and not from the the module and not from the prelude. I feel like that makes things less complicated, but I really don't know. Okay, so we go back to thread safe general store. That's right. No, JSON general store. So that made that error go away, but not this error. So let's look at this. Recall by role, thread safe current scope. Oh, is it just that we forgot to import it somewhere? I bet it is. No. really should be implementable on this, so long as has future store 4.0. Is it that I just missed the... I bet I've missed a type on the has future store for question. No, that's correct. I wonder... No, I am really stuck here. We've got recall by role, which is the thing that it says isn't being implemented for this. But I don't know why it isn't. Recall by company. Technically, these should be... Oh, yeah, this could be a flag or a role, which have company deleted and are clonable. This is recall by role, which is a recall by company. Okay, so it's fine so long as we have something. I'm just wondering if I've missed something with question store. Yep. Yes, I have. That's exactly what I've missed. I think because we hadn't created it at the time. So we also need to do recall by role question. So now anything that is question store has recall by role, which should propagate all of our traits back to this now working. I'm just going to try running the test because I have faith. It might be very misplaced. It is. Still thinks recall by role does not exist for... Okay. Did I implement it for stub store? I'm like 90% sure I did. Okay, question store is implemented for stub store. Recall by role is implemented for stub store. Recall by question store is implemented for JSON store. Recall by role is implemented for JSON store. Thread safe general store. Did I just miss the... I think I might have just said something out loud. That import question store for stub store. So we actually get that from has future store. Recall by role. And the only other thing that we then need is has question store. Sorry, not has question store. It's like this has future store for question. This is embarrassing. This is going to stop me in my tracks, isn't it? So the... Let me have a little drink. Okay. It's a difficult one to debug because it's basically going to be some trait that should be getting automatically implemented isn't. And I'm not actually sure how to debug where it's not happening. Recall by role. So we want to do... Oh, actually, you know what? We've got our recall by company over here. Let's just duplicate this and do recall by role here, because this should basically be the same thing. We won't need flag or role, technically. And we could take a role. keep the company, keep the role. We will add, oops, the question. Question. New role ID. Question. We don't need these. We don't need the timestamp on this one. Okay. We're taking this out. That's probably don't actually need this in here either. Let's just go to storing the question. Recall by role. Roll. Rolls. Oh god, no, question. Questions. Question. Delete this. Questions contains question. And we can see that it does not think that this is an existing thing. So why? So recall by rule not found in the current scope for that. Could I have failed to import from the properties? So we've got composite store properties, possibly. Let's sort these out a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see that they're grouped together. I do kind of agree that probably needs to be. We're bringing in the has future store for. We're implementing has future store for question. I'm so lost here. This should then give us the has role for by has recall by role, because we're not bringing it in for the other ones. We've got 4 individual storable types, 4 individual store types. We have our future store here. It should make sure there's nothing there. We have. I am not seeing it. Recall by role. Name, ID, company based store. I'm just not seeing it. This is. Oh my word. Oh my word. No, that's not it. Wait, yes it is. Yes it is. It's this. Is it recall by role? No, that is has ID. Yeah, because it's the ID of the role, not the it's the ID of the role. Huh. Okay, let's try a different tact here. It is implemented but not in scope. Why is it in the test? Have I brought them in the test and then just forgotten to import them? Is it in the prelude? Oh, after all that, this is why you don't include things from the prelude. It was something Vincent just said. Must be something simple. Those could be the trickiest. I think it was. I think it's literally that. Oh my word. Okay. Sorry, everyone. This is why we don't use the prelude. What if I get rid of it? I'll get rid of this once the tests are working. Okay, they're not. So that's fine. Which one? Test recall by role. And it failed because recall questions contains question did not return the actual question. And it's because I passed in the company instead of the role. Ridiculous, Daniel. Okay, that's fine. Okay. I think the next thing to do is to, at some point, I should probably prevent it from using prelude anywhere in the crate. The prelude should be exported, but it shouldn't be used inside of the crate, I don't think. Looks like has name isn't done. Yeah, we're not loading anything by name here, so that's fine. Let's just rerun that and see what it says now. That's made the error go away. Okay. Use, sorry, let's do it on here. Use crate prelude. This is going to take a second to fix. You can see like even with the very first example, there's kind of a mix of things going on in here. I wonder if there's like a lint or something I could set up to prevent myself from doing that, or some other way that I can sort of block myself from using the prelude inside of here. This one as well. That's one we just added. Use crate prelude, do not want that. So what if we get rid of that, we lose all of these. That's probably why I did it. Not a big issue. Storable, I think that should work. Still upset, that's fine. Let's see where we get to. So it's the storable, the storage properties. I think we could probably get rid of that. Nope. Is it sulfur star? No, it's star. It's just that, I think. Don't need that anymore. Okay. I honestly just feel embarrassed about this. Storable, these are all storable things, so we should just be able to do that. I'm okay doing that. I think that's probably better, but I feel like with, again, that's just in here. Let's just drop this. Let's drop this and this. Because in all likelihood, we're going to be using everything there. Object storage. Oh, God, this is using... what? Oh, different files maybe. Recall by ID is in storage. That's storage as well. And so is this. Okay, hopefully I'm not obfuscating this in a completely different way now. That's deleted. Oops, what did I just do? I think I managed to move to a different file. Okay, there we go. Right, oh. Let's do a full run of tests, and we will do it with the coverage on to see how that is. This will take a second, so I'm going to have another drink. Actually, while I do that, I'm going to show off my Patreon so that they get a little shout out, which is this button. Okay, that didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. We've got pretty good coverage, 95%. Let's see if there's any obvious misses. So, I'm not going to count that. So this line isn't executed, it's inside of a test. Doesn't matter. Over here, 97% covered. So we're missing a test for recall by roll. We just wrote one for question, right? No, we wrote one for... Oh, this is for JSON store. Yeah, okay. So we are actually missing that for here. See, this is why we have the these things. So we know that we need that. We need... Oops. That. And we need... that. And then if I'll just check the others, 100%, 91 in time. I think this is also in tests. No, it's not. Oh, it's not sure what that is. Something we're deriving up here isn't used. Does not tell me what. I think this is some glitchy thing about how I'm using third-day transparent as well. Do I always go for 100% coverage? No. This is why I'm only showing off the storage folder, because I do not know how to test Dioxys correctly. So the bits where we're actually creating UI and stuff is barely tested. I think there are a handful of tests around there. I do have my anecdote about how when I was making a PHP framework called II API. It's brilliant. You should definitely check it out. I haven't touched it in years, and it was built for PHP 5, so good luck with that. I decided, because I was like, it was my first sort of like proper open source framework that I was developing, and I mainly developed it just to learn how to do frameworks. I wasn't really trying to push it or anything, but I did want to sort of do it as professionally as possible. So I did decide to want to get to 100% coverage. Last line that wasn't covered was a single ending curly bracket. Problem was I had a nested if. I tested if I go into both of them, if I skipped over the outer one, but not what happens if I go into the outer one, but not into the inner one. When I wrote a test for that last line of coverage, to get that last line of coverage, I uncovered a bug so big I had to rewrite like a third of the framework. So I personally try to test as much as possible. And this is effectively 100% covered now. I think it's worth doing it, but I would never set it as a metric for my team. I try to encourage my team to write tests because making things go from red to green like is a little dopamine hit, but that's all. And it's much more about trying to get teams feel confident about their deploys and stuff. And I've worked with teams who have been nervous about getting things deployed because there wasn't enough tests, and they're just like, if I push this out, are we going to have an instant? And just getting that test coverage up and teaching people how to sort of enjoy writing tests and how to write good tests has been really important. But I never set it as a metric, even though I personally aim for it anyway. Okay, we have feat added. I'm glad I did this in two things. I was thinking like, oh, is it really a feature if you can't store it? Stores, stub, JSON, thread safe, commit push. Okay. We are 2 hours of the stream down, and I've only added the simplest of the three things I wanted to add. I didn't think, I mean, I hoped, but I didn't think we would get through to UI today, but never mind. It's all fine. So next we need to do, okay, well, let's do, sorry, let me think this through. So I've got my thing here. Technically not done, but what I will do is link this PR. So let's make a PR for this. Great PR. So it'd just be a little work in progress one, or draft PR for now. storage of questions, interviews, and values. Let's do values next. Draft, create. And then I will do back in here, sorry, added question storage. No, I'm only going to add the other ones as I go. So what was that, 56, 55? 56? It is 56. Let's just refresh the page. Yeah, I think it probably loaded up when the page loaded. Comment. So now there's a reference back to it. Okay. Let's do values. They feel a little bit easier. So values belong to company. That's already done. They are simply going to be a name and a description, all of which we kind of already have things for. So I don't this will hopefully be a little bit easier. We're still going to have to go through the madness of the thread safe and the has future store nonsense. But let's just crack on and see where we get to. So first, let's add the object type. Mod values, pub use values, star. There we go. Pub structs, value. Yeah, they should be singular. Question value. One thing, so on going back to Vincent's question on test coverage, one thing I've done really badly here is documentation coverage, which is not really a measurable thing, but there's like no documentation in here, which is just appallingly low standard, especially for me. I really love Rust documentation and using the Rust doc tests, which I've not done here. So, oh well. These belong to companies. Moving on real quick. Company ID. ID, they have a name. Sticking with string for now, might change in the future. Description, string. Vincent says, saying one of the many things I love about it. Yeah, honestly, I think there are many things to love about Rust, but one of the really undervalued things is the tooling and how good it is. Like just the whole community is just filled with amazing people just trying to make things better for everyone, which is not something I feel you get from other. I don't want to say like other languages don't do it, but I feel like maybe the accessibility of attempting to do that for other people in other languages is a bit more challenging. So it's why it's fairly easy for Rust YouTubers to do like, here are some common crates and things that I use, because a lot of them are just so well written, so well supported, and have just like people who really work on the community and stuff that they've not changed in a really long time. Surday's been around forever and it's still the sort of go-to serialization crate. Nom has been around forever. It's the go-to parsing crate. What else? Clap. Clap had a contender very briefly, and then they just sort of like, what was the contender? It was struct opt. So Clap allows you to take command line arguments, and struct opt basically was a wrapper for Clap. So people would sort of use that instead of Clap because it made using Clap a lot easier. And they just folded the two projects in together. So now we've got like the best of both worlds. Really good. Just a very supportive community, which is really cool. Which, by the way, you know, I appreciate everyone on the stream supporting me do my nonsense as well. Import value. Pub fn new. Then we want the company ID. Did I do, when I've got like role, have I got like in my new? Interesting. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to do something slightly different for this one, and if I like it, I might go and change that one as well. So what I'm actually going to do is make this a generic with has ID. C. Storable. And do I want you to have to create the name and description at the same time? This is an interesting one because it's the first one where we've had to do this. I might just not... I might just take name for now. However, under the idea that we might also take... Oh, what have I done? We might also take a description in the... I mean, we could make another function new with description or something if we really need to. Yeah, okay, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave it as this. One thing that I did forget to do... Shall I do it now? I could do it now. It'd be real easy. Pub FN new... wait, what did I call it on company? Create question. Will return a question type. And the only thing I think that we need is the name, which again, we will do the generic of... Sorry, I've dived around all over the place here. I've been seeing people that I used to work with jump into the chat and the stream here and there and just message me online. I just wonder how many of them like, oh my god, here goes Daniel again. So used to this, all over the placeness. Question, new. Oh yeah, I need to take self from this as well. Self.id name. That's it. And then just want to test for that as well, which we will write in here. We do not need it to be async. I think it can just be a test. How rare. FN test create question. What I will do though is let roll equal roll new test. Then we will do let question equal roll dot create question. Yeah, okay, can't quite do it like that. That's fine, right? New view roll. Can't use the new test because it uses an async function, and I was trying to avoid doing that, so we'll just do it this way. Create question, question, assert EQ, question dot roll ID, roll dot ID, assert EQ, question dot name question. Right, probably fine. No, because I have not finished writing this up. That's okay. Self. Okay. I'm just going to add that one little bit on its own. None of this. Oops, no, none of that. So the only thing I'm adding here is the create question function. So this basically means that in the actual application, if you already have your hands on a role, you can just create a question from that role. You don't need to like create a question from question new and then pass in the role ID. Silly utility thing, but I did create question to role. Commit and push. I think I might have like a load of make file stuff on this. So we'll just come back to that in a minute. There we go. Yeah. I've got like a pre-commit hook that runs a bunch of tests, so I don't end up with loads of things being like, oh, there's loads of mistakes in your formatting and stuff. Although Clippy should be failing. That's interesting. Am I imagining it? Yeah, came back green. I guess these are warnings. I don't know why Clippy would be okay with it. Probably I've made a mistake in here. Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. Okay, I'll need to fix that later. So these are allowed to... I don't know. There's something wrong there, but not going to solve it at the moment. Back into value. We have got new self. Add the missing fields. Don't like that. Don't know why it keeps doing it. Company ID. Just going to be company ID dot get ID. Name dot into. Description is going to be empty. That's going to be empty. So that's all fine. There we go. We will then want to implement a bunch of stuff. This is where if I had listened to 891 properly and done all the implementation stuff, I wouldn't have to re-implement it. Shall we do that now? The properties on here, so the has role, for example, that we made a import has role. Let's just do one for each of them. So we've got has name. This is going to be fairly trivial, I think. That's going to be, sorry, there's going to be a slight annoyance if we come back to, oh, it's a, that would have been wrong. Yeah, that should actually be fine. Sorry, I was just thinking this might break if we go to cows from strings, but actually it's fine. Doesn't matter. Yeah, this has slightly more because we also implemented for UUID. So UUID has a getID method on it that just returns itself. Very silly, but still. Has ID. ID. Oh, self.id. ID. Oh my goodness, there we go. Has deleted. Hey, 9-1, if you're still listening, I'm sorry I teach you for not being a real developer. What is how is deleted, isn't it? Is deleted. Whoop. Bool. Self dot deleted dot is sum. Pretty sure that's how we do it. Company. And company. And now if we go back to value, see how much of this actually works. Okay, already got problems. Cannot find trait has company. That's okay. Storable stuff. Deleted. No field deleted. Oh, date deleted. That's why. So just go and quickly change that. Date deleted. Should be using the same value everywhere, so it should be okay. Impl has ID value. Okay, and I think the last one is like has name, right? Impl has name. don't usually actually, some of these values we're just not looking up by this. When unresolved has name, probably forgot something over here. Oh. Just forgot to import it. That's hilarious. And then this one's broken because get name ID is not, of course it's not. Get name. I've also not written out the test for this yet. So how do we do question? I think it was just like, oh yeah, we need to create the test helper. It's still sad over here. Oh, Daniel. Yep, that's actually fine. So in this case, we can just do this, I think. There we go. Okay, cool. Let's write the test helper for value. Value. New value. Fine. And the tests. Where am I? I'm in the wrong place. Basically going to be this. I'm still very confused as to why. Oh, because they aren't re-exported. Okay. Probably fine. Probably fine. Sorry, that was, I don't know why I don't just do star here. It's because I don't think I re-export below here. I think has deleted, for example. Where are you going? Has deleted is public to its property mod. It's re-exported at this point, whereas the other ones are, you have to nest in deeper, and I think that's why I've done it this way. It's probably for the best. And these should now work. We've got a bonus import value something somewhere. That struct's not red. That's okay for now. Did I not make it public? Did I not export it? Needs to go to the prelude. Prelude. That should make that one go away. Field description is never read should go away. Pub use, that would go away. So if I just rerun that now, there should be no warnings. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Let's say that we have now added the value. Oh yeah, we've also. Do I make the changes? No, fine. Feats. Add value. Storable. Also added uh, 891. If you are listening, you can, if you want me to add your thing on this for your suggestion, let me know so I can credit you in the comments your GitHub handle or email address. Actually, yeah, if you're okay with me putting your email address in, let me know and we can add it in. Macros for basic. What did you call them? Accessor. Implementations. There we go. I'm going to assume he's not on at the moment. I'll check in with him later and try to make sure that he gets mentioned in it, because I think it's always nice when you provide a suggestion to someone and in their crate and they add it through. Yeah. Yeah. There's, if anyone wants to go crazy, there's 2 bugs. They're not really bugs, but they are frustrating that I've had to turn off checks. So now we need to add value to storable. I'm not drinking enough water again. Ugh. Okay, so sorry, not in storable, in storage. So we're going to add a new type called value store. Oops. Value store. It's really going to be very similar to like role store actually, if not identical. That's where I have to hit hey. Always enjoy watching and coding. Thank you, Vincent. It's always really nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. I am probably not going to get to the end of what I had hoped to do today because I still have interviews to add and then the more complicated one. Hopefully this won't take too long now that we've done it once. Clone is not satisfied. Of course it's not, because we didn't implement it. Oh, we're missing a bunch of stuff in here, aren't we? Or not. Should be right. Derive, clone, debug, serialize, deserialize. I think that's all we needed, right? Double check that. With, whoops, roll, not roll store. Yep. So, going back to value store, that has fixed that problem. And then we just need to go through each store and make sure that it's implemented correctly for them. And this time this shouldn't be too much work because we're not adding in a new recall by. So let's start off with the stub storage. Oh. Role store is ambiguous because I bet I called it silly. Oh. Yeah. Impl. So that's that. We just, if I do that should give us the coverage we need. Equals, because I haven't implemented partially Q. That was an oversight. Not a big one though. Okay, oops. That should make that problem go away. Okay, and then we've got some tests to do the stores. Should be the same for this. Value store. This is, again, this is where the generics I think really come in handy to import and import. Please don't tell me you brought in prelude. No, don't see it. I think we're okay. Just check in. Should have been in here. Yeah, okay, cool. Fantastic. Then we can just repeat these once again. GG, D, value. Oops. Save. And then on to has future store. Where recall? Oh no, I don't need to do anything with this one. Nice. We already have that already set up, which means all I need to do is add it into thread safe store over here. This is going to get a little bit much, but let's just go with it. It should be fine. So do I want to put it here or do I want to let's put it here. I know this is a bit pedantic, but company flags and roles are all part of, flags, roles and values are all part of company, then questions part of roles. So actually maybe even I want to put it here. Value store, import, perfect. Value store does not implement clone, eh? What are you talking about? So it thinks I've missed. We'll come back to that. I might be all right. Value store, arc, mutex, v, mutex, keyboard. And then it's basically going to be a case of getting all of these, adding in the v. Then finding all of these. Adding in the V. That has made some of the red stuff go away. I missed something with value up here, clearly. Maybe that's why something's unhappy. This gets a bit of a pain. So I don't, if I just inject some additional value in here, it's going to break. No, it's not, because we use the default value everywhere, but yeah, okay, no, it's fine. It'll break, but not in a terrible way. Should be fine. Value store, V. So that will cause the JSON thread safe store to break. It should break here. That's fine, just duplicate it. Doop-de-doo, same, 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 and same. I wonder if there's a simpler way of doing that, but feels like it needs a bit of thought. It might be a nice generic way of doing it. Value. So this is where this is going to cause problems. So I need to jump over to here. Flag roll. Duplicate. Value. Value. Okay. Value store. Just make sure that comes up as the right type. Comma. Yep. And value store. Okay. That felt a bit too easy, didn't it? Let's go to our thread safe general store because we've got our big implementations here. So again, it's pretty identical to role in the way that it works in storage. Okay, do have a problem. So has future store 4. That's what we're missing. Great, that's fine. Can do that. This probably could be a generic, I'm thinking. It's repeated a lot. And the only changes tend to be this, this, and that, which we have not implemented. There we go. So back to our tests. That looks like that has cleaned that up. Weird. That was far too easy. Maybe we can get interviews done. I suppose we don't have to do all of the properties immediately, but let's just do a coverage test. Make sure that it's fine. It's slightly annoying that we get those little lines where it's like, it's not really an issue. 6%. I think it's probably just waiting to load up the coverage, isn't it? Oh, computers, who'd have them really? Oh, it's because I did this, that's why. I literally did only test like 6% of the code. There we go, 95%. Doesn't look like anything important has dropped. Yeah, that's fine. That was the one that was fine before. Why am I not testing anything in logging? Should probably write some tests for this. Not even sure why logging is in storage, actually, that's a whole other question, but everything else has 100% coverage, so I think we're good. Time we don't care about, we haven't changed it. So we have successfully added fairly storable storage. Did I add more macros? I don't think I did this time, did I? No, it's all basic stuff. We considered it, didn't we? It's fine. Cool. Commit push. Even if we do know it's not actually working with the pre-commit hook, and I need to go and look at that. I think, actually, if I remember rightly, let's just have a very quick look and see if we can fix it. Make file is down here. I think... Oh, no, I don't know, because if those are allowed to fail... Let's assume this is still broken for some reason, just because I'm bad at writing code. Oh, no, it's fine. Okay. We'll worry about it another time. So that was values. Let's see if we can rapidly get interviews in. Again, interviews will belong to role, which we already have a has role thing for. So this is going to be very similar to question, but we probably want to store a lot more fields. I'm going to keep it simple to begin with and literally just copy this over. Go to the mod, duplicate this. So close to the same, I'm just not going to worry about it. Interview. I know, this is terrible. I know. Okay, so we want... We probably do want a name. Okay, now this is where I think things get really interesting. So I used to work for a recruitment software as a service company. One of the projects I worked on was we basically had created a project that we couldn't sell, a feature, a product that we couldn't sell. It was a licensing product, and the reason we couldn't sell it was we'd overly thought about it from the perspective of software engineers. So when software engineers are looking for a job, they usually use things like LinkedIn. We had used LinkedIn single sign-on, but not everyone uses LinkedIn single sign-on, which impeded our ability to sell the product. And so my first big task there was to actually work out another way of authenticating people. The reason I bring that up is that what I want to be careful here is that do other people's interviews who might be using this piece of software necessarily work the same as mine. So for example, if you are interviewing as a mechanical engineer at CAT, are you even going to care about values? Possibly not. So maybe that's a pointless thing. And then how many interviews do you go for? Are there like technical interviews, behavioral interviews in the same way that we get them in the software industry? I'm going to err on doing what I know because I do not have a team of user researchers or market researchers. So I'm just going to go with what I know, which means I'm going to keep role name. This is going to be notes. What else did we have? We had like a date time. When we have hosts, name, media description, notes, the host, and the date time. For now, I'm just going to keep it as one host. No, I'm going to make this a VEC. It's not unusual for you to be interviewed by multiple people, and it might be worth you getting down like the details of each person. And again, I'm thinking about things like LinkedIn, but you may want to shove like a link to their LinkedIn in here. What I might do is make this a list of little markdown things so that you can write in a link using markdown, and it will then just show the name with a link on it or something like that. Or you could do like the name, then the word LinkedIn with a link on it. I'm not going to overthink the sort of the formatting of it. I'm going to leave that up to the person who's writing them. Date deleted, probably yes, but we also want date of interview. What did I call it over here? Just date time. I mean, I could just do date time. Is that going to be obvious, people? I am going to make this an option because you might know that it's coming but not know the specific date and time. That's not unusual. VEC can be turned into nothing. I think we're okay here. Okay. So let's grab the 3 things we changed. Pop them in here. Get rid of the pub. And these are all, I mean, actually, nah, nuts. Just thinking, it's not been mentioned today, but the text editor that everyone loves would have been quite handy for moving the cursor around there. It's fine. Default is fine here. It's going to be like empty string, empty vector, and none. I mean, okay, no, let's just write them in. Let's just write them in, Daniel. Don't be lazy. And what did I say this was? New. Okay. So that gives us that. EQ is going to be the same because it belongs to a role, has ID, has name. This is all fine. Has role. We did just implement these, didn't we? As macros. Let's just get the macro versions of these. Impl has ID, interview. Impl has role we just did, deleted, interview. Let's try and get them vaguely in order. Impl has name, interview. Great. That should mean that all of this works now, with luck. It's complaining because I haven't exported it at the very top level. It's quite clever in that it knows that unless it's exported from the library itself, if it can't find it in here, it's not being used. So that's good. I think that's it. Gosh, these macros actually have worked really well. So let's move on to committing this. Add interview storable. Commit and push. And we will then move to, come on. Push. Great. So object storage, do we need another one of these? So I'm just going to duplicate this one again. It's so similar that I think it's worth doing. Interview store, add interview store. Here. Wait, I have made a mistake, haven't I? These are like questioned because they belong to roles and not to companies. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, I just made a mistake in the latest bit. That's fine. That's fine. Does not have a company, has a role. Mod? Where's the mod? Cool. You're sad because you aren't used yet. That's fine. So stub store. And again, like, it's gonna be pretty trivial because if I do question, try and keep these together, interview. Just copy that entire line, go to the JSON store, add the entire line in. Where is it? Conflicting implementation. Oh, yeah, of course it is. Let's get the tests for these done. So again, I said it was like a question this time. So let's do Control G, Control D, interview. That adds those tests in. Could arguably copy. Paste. Oops. Okay, cool. That's that. And then as feature store, these are all fine because there's the those are the storage traits which we have already got implemented. So all we need to do is add in the interview store in here. I shall add after question. I probably might reorder some of these things so they just like have the same order each time. Interview store. Oops. Interview store. And now things get crazy again because we've got another generic to add in here. So put in here. Interview. Import. Interview. So this is the new format of these. So let's just go GGG, select all the implementation things, add interviews, and we're upset because we need to add in this. It's fine. I mean, the amount of repeated code here definitely strongly suggests that I should be using macros or something to reduce that. So I might look at that in the future. Interview. Is that the right place? I think it is. Roll interview question. Roll interview question. Roll interview question. Didn't put it in here. Interview. Interview. Haven't specified it here. Interview. Okay. Those ones, while feeling very repeated, do require. Okay. they do require just writing out, unfortunately. How's Future Store 4? No idea where I'm sticking this after roll, right? Okay, so let's just copy this one. Lots of errors down here because, oh, actually, trade bound, stuff store and roll. If you're not satisfied, stuff store. Oh my word, we've got 6 now, right? So it should be an additional one. So that's now sad because some other nonsense. Stuff store default should be fine. I think I'm just getting myself a bit lost. Let's shrink these down so I can see more code and feel a bit more breezy. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So there are 6. So I might have just missed something in the new implementation. That's not the right place, right? New. I better just, nope. Interview. So that's fine. Have I? Oh no. Oops. This is unfortunate. That should hopefully make, a bunch of problems go away. So now we're still sad. Oh, no, now we're sad because we haven't got enough of these. Perfect. Okay, we did get there. We still need to add the macros in, so it's like question. I think that's what I said. JSON storage should also be busted. Nope. That's the one I just changed. I have made some silly mistakes. Try that one. That's the one I was after. So we know that we're going to have another new scoped. Should be fine. Interview. Go back to the other file. Interview. Import. Storage. JSON store. Interview. Okay. What's left to be angry? Yeah. Interview store. Yep. And okay. I'm left wondering, should I probably also be testing the JSON store implementation itself? I still get to 100%. I don't think it's necessary. The individual paths, the individual units are tested. I think it's probably okay. So let's just, oops, run that. Oh, incredible. There's no way. 98%. So this was the error messages, I think. Yep. Time we don't care about. 100, 100, 100. No lines covered. 100. Yeah. That's it. That is it. So I actually did manage to get to the end of the stream before the end of the stream. That's everything I had planned. Storage. Cool. Commit and push. So since we've got a few more minutes left, what I might very quickly do is just look up how to fix that makefile issue. I could probably make this error go away just by doing... it doesn't like it. Could just take the error message out. Imagine that it doesn't work in coverage, so it's like... No, I'll leave it. No, I won't. I'm just going to move these. This isn't great because the error won't tell you what actually is wrong if there is a problem. But since we're not hitting that, I'm getting poor coverage metrics. And the reason that I think that getting the coverage metrics to say 100% is more important is because last time we measured it, was it 95% or 96%? Last time it was 96%. Like, this doesn't tell me really if, like, was it 96% or was it 95? I will miss out on... Oops. What happened there? Oh, dear. Hang on. I'll miss out on whether my coverage has dropped because if I don't know exactly which lines I've missed, that's going to be a problem. So I am going to take these out. Even though it makes the test very slightly less useful, it makes the coverage much more useful to make sure that I have tested everything that I think I've tested. So now this should go up to almost 100. Still missing something. Oh no, there we go. So that's now 100. So it's just time is not 100. And the reason for that is something to do with this, which I cannot do anything about. We just have to not worry about it. Logging's a problem as well. I'm gonna leave that. So test removed error message to improve test coverage consistency. Observability. Does that go even? Oh, it does. Just use observability instead. Select the files, commit push. And then the other thing I really wanted to look at quickly, and it really will be the last thing on the stream, is how to make sure that fails if any line fails. How to make file fail if any line errors. To ignore errors. So is it possibly... Okay, let's do fn not used right here. So that should be a Clippy error, probably. So it comes back green. So it's not the makefile potentially that's the problem. Let's look at what we do in CI, because I bet in CI we're a bit more pedantic. So let's just make sure that we are running the same thing. Cargo check, no, we want Clippy. Just preventing warnings, that's all it is. Okay. So what I might do actually is just split this, go back to the CI file, shrink, and shrink. Just make sure that we've got the exact same actual things. So we've got cargo check verbose. Probably don't need it to be verbose, I just need to tell me if it's failing or not. Same for cargo build, same for cargo test. Let's put it in the same order though. Clippy does need, so the -D warnings basically says like if there are warnings, you need to fail, not, return a non-zero exit code, whereas normally it would return a 0 exit code, just display the actual errors. This should be fine. Let's just check format again. So format's check. Format's not the first thing. Why? It's after test. So let's triple check and just go to structure, I think. Jobs. So we've got check, build, test, format, Clippy, format. Great. Let me just commit that up in the same one. But make sure we don't commit this, which actually is broken. However, if I now do make pre-commit, this time it should actually return a non-zero exit code, right? Yeah, okay. Call that a win then. Okay. What is this? This is not really CI. It's like pre-commit or dev stuff. Made pre-commit make. Can't remember what these are called. I don't think they're tasks, but fail on Clippy warnings. Also reordered to be the same as CI. Commit push. And that's it. I am going to probably just make sure I link those things back to the original tickets. So for the actual, like, the bits in here, I'm not going to consider these done until they're actually in the UI. So I might do that in the next stream. Unless anyone can think of something they would rather see, in which case drop a comment or join the Discord and let me know there. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you especially for the people that shouted out help, like 891's suggestion on creating, I still can't remember, accessors or like generatable accessors using the macros. I think that saved a lot of time. I will probably go through and tidy up the old ones maybe before I commit this one, just so that they're not using their own implementations, they're just using the same macros as everything else, and that'll keep everything nice and tidy. Yeah. Another stream where I achieved my goals. That's weird. Thank you again, everyone, for coming. And I guess that's where I'm ending the stream. So hope everyone has a great week, and I will see you. Oh my God, the cheesiness of I will see you next time.